This is the News 4 Rundown.
We begin with a developing story tonight after the shooting of a U.S. Park police officer last night in the district. Thanks for joining us for the News 4 Rundown. I'm Un Yang. Police say they have two suspects in custody tonight, and sources tell News 4 the two men are brothers. The officer is now out of the hospital. News 4's Mark Seagraves was first to report the shooting last night and the first to report the arrest today. Mark has the latest now from the Marshall Heights neighborhood in Southeast, where officers executed a search warrant at a home today.
Over my shoulder is the scene of last night's shooting, and today federal agents and MPD have been here executing a search warrant at a home in the middle of the block. You can see ATF agents down the street there. About an hour ago, we saw several of them leave with their arms filled with evidence bags and boxes. This is happening after, of course, two men were arrested in connection to the shooting of that Park police officer last night. The shooting of the Park police officer drew a massive police presence to the Southeast neighborhood near the D.C. Maryland border last night. D.C. police say it was just about 7:30 p.m. Two men approached a Park police officer who was in plain clothes and in this white Tesla, and they opened fire. The officer was attacked while in the car here in the 5100 block of Queen Stroll Place, Southeast. Shell casings could be seen in the middle of the street. Police say dozens of shots were fired by the suspects. The officer did not return fire. Police say the Park police officer was struck at least once in the upper body and then drove several blocks to the intersection of Benning Road and Southern Avenue, where he was found by police and transported by helicopter to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Multiple law enforcement sources tell News 4 the officer who was shot was investigating the shooting at Anacostia Park Friday afternoon. No one was injured in that shooting. At a press briefing last night, police told reporters the officer was likely targeted by the suspects.
What we do know is the officer was targeted inside the vehicle, albeit not a marked police car. We do have some indications we believe potentially they did know he was a police officer, but that'll all be part of the ongoing investigation as relates to the actual shooting incident.
And so here's what we know about at least one of the suspects. Both suspects are men in their early 20s. They both have the same last name. One of the men who was arrested, according to court documents, was arrested also on Sunday by Park police for dealing drugs in a federal park. He appeared in court on Monday and was released just hours before this shooting took place that he's charged with here on Queen Stroll Place. So again, you had a shooting Friday in Anacostia Park. You have one of the suspects in the shooting who was arrested Sunday in a drug case, and then now two men in custody charged with the shooting of this Park police officer. That's the very latest from Southeast. Mark Seagraves, News 4.
Also developing tonight, Chopper 4 was flying over Montgomery Village, where a Montgomery County police officer shot a man earlier this evening. Officers are focused on an apartment building on Lost Knife Circle just off Montgomery Village Avenue. This isn't far from the old Lake Forest Mall. Montgomery County police say they were patrolling the area when they found a man acting suspiciously. Officers say they chased him into the apartment complex, and the man shot at officers before they shot back. The victim is expected to recover. News 4's Amy Cho will have an update coming up on News 4 at 11. An Ashburn neighborhood is in the headlines after news spread that homeowners were being offered $4 million each to sell their property for data center development. But some residents say that headline doesn't at all represent an accurate picture of the quandary they face. Northern Virginia Bureau Chief Julie Carey visited the Regency HOA to try to get more details behind the catchy headline.
The Regency neighborhood just off Waxpool Road in Ashburn is beautiful this time of year. 143 spacious half-acre lots, open space, just blocks to the metro and shopping. But here's the problem. On two sides, the subdivision is surrounded by data centers, and more are coming. There's noise, and they can be an eyesore. That led the former HOA president, Mittal Gandhi, a real estate developer, to devise a plan. He found a data center developer who would pay each homeowner roughly $4 million to buy them out. Kept mostly quiet for more than a year, the proposal was just spotlighted in a data center publication, then in the local paper. In a statement to News 4, Gandhi writes in part, "Our goal was to explore whether a true win-win-win solution existed for our community, our county, and a responsible developer. Even when those opportunities arise, bringing 143 homeowners together is incredibly challenging given the human element involved." He says he's continuing to see if all residents are willing to be on board. We spoke to at least a dozen residents about the proposal, but not one, including Gandhi, would agree to be interviewed on camera. Some telling me the proposal has created friction in the neighborhood. Others saying the original proposal will not move forward because not enough residents could agree to its terms. The HOA president issuing a statement reading in part, "There is currently no offer to purchase the Regency homes for data center development." One big hurdle to any sort of redevelopment here, this is currently zoned residential. And that means any application to permit a data center here would require every single homeowner to also sign on to that application. Supervisor Sylvia Glass represents this area. Her office says she is aware Regency has received outreach from data center developers and she's spoken to residents. But she adds in a written statement, "I am not involved in any negotiations the community may be having, and no rezoning application has been submitted to Loudoun County." While development opportunities might exist for an area so close to the Ashburn Metro Station, the county's comprehensive plan calls for housing, commercial, and civic uses on that land. Still, even some residents who tell me they've rejected the original proposal say they are open to other options. They say the quality of life in the dream home they bought here 20 or 30 years ago is no longer the same with more data centers looming on their horizon. In Ashburn, Virginia, I'm Julie Carey, News 4.
The Trump administration is working to reduce long wait times at some of the nation's busiest airports by bringing in ICE agents to help. The move comes as the partial government shutdown continues to impact TSA staffing, with some employees calling out sick or leaving the job because they're not being paid. At Dulles Airport, ICE officers are now assisting with ID checks and crowd control. Passengers we spoke with this morning had mixed reactions to the added presence.
I think it's a little bit weird, the ICE officer here at the TSA airport, when I think that we can just pay the TSA workers and get those people to come back to do the job that they've been trained for.
I think if they improve the lines and security, that we will be pleased.
President Trump has asked ICE officers not to wear masks inside the airport. It is unclear how long these agents will be at Dulles. TSA workers will not be paid until the Department of Homeland Security is fully funded. So let's pull it back and take a broader look at how the shutdown is impacting airports across the nation. So far, 14 airports have seen ICE agents walking from terminal to terminal. The list of cities includes Houston, Atlanta, New York City, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. 4 sources familiar with negotiations between the White House and Congress tell NBC News Senate Republicans believe they have found a way to reopen the government. The plan involves funding most of the Department of Homeland Security, with the exception of immigration enforcement and deportation operations under ICE. Once DHS is back up and running, then Republicans will try to secure funding for the rest of ICE and pass President Trump's Save America Act. Fort Washington Park will reopen tomorrow after several pipe bombs were discovered there over the weekend. Authorities evacuated the popular Prince George's County Park after finding the devices on Sunday. The county executive's office says investigators found a total of 9 pipe bombs between Sunday and Monday, but all of them were inoperable. The ATF says that the pipe bombs may have been there for some time, and they are still being analyzed. Road crews in Maryland are tackling a dirty problem this week, picking up tons of litter that's been tossed on the side of the road. It's called Operation Clean Sweep, and these crews are pleading with drivers to put the trash where it belongs, in a garbage can. News 4 transportation reporter Adam Tuss tagged along with one crew as the trash pickup started.
Litter, litter, everywhere. And it's time to do something about it.
Look, so many of you have told us about this issue, especially here in Maryland. We're talking about trash by the side of the road, stuff like this, somebody's smashed up Mountain Dew can. Well, now Operation Clean Sweep is underway. You're going to see these crews out this whole week trying to pick up the trash.
Driver Kanate with his thoughts on the issue.
I've seen people doing that, throwing a cup of coffee, out of the window.
And he's happy this operation to clean up the trash is now underway. Crews are being deployed to major roads like 270 and Georgia Avenue in Montgomery County and routes 50 and 4 in Prince George's County.
Keep the city clean, and you could avoid accident also as well.
Right, because what if there's something dangerous on the road?
Exactly.
The Maryland State Highway Administration says this is a safety issue. They're trying to collect a lot of the trash before they have to mow the grass.
We're trying to get messaging out for folks not to trash our highways. It is very dangerous for our maintenance operators as well as the motoring public, because if they hit something like a piece of metal or something, that could become a projectile and hit a pedestrian, a bicyclist, or even a driver.
Sadly, road crews say this issue has only gotten worse in recent years. And last year, it cost about $16 million just to pick up the trash statewide.
That's more than 5 million pounds of litter and debris if you put that all together. So that is it's insane how much there is out there.
His plea to drivers: don't litter. Bring a small trash bag with you in the car, or simply find a trash can before you just toss that trash out the window. Along 270, Adam Tuss, News 4.
Seems like an easy direction to follow. Don't litter. All right, still to come tonight on the News 4 Rundown. How would you like to see more fine dining restaurants in Prince George's County? A proposed plan could bring more food options to the area. More on the program that would provide a seat at the table for new cuisine. And speaking of new cuisine, I sat down with Washington Post's new food critic. Stick around for our conversation about our region's diverse food scene. Doug?
Yeah, we saw nothing but sunshine earlier today, but now the clouds are working their way in. Coming up, I'm going to show you what that means to your Wednesday and the rest of the week, and what that also means for your temperatures. See you back here in just a few.
So it's dinner time and you're looking for a place to eat in Prince George's County. Some say there are plenty of restaurants, but not enough fine dining experiences. Some elected leaders want to change that. They want to set up a fund to help attract higher-end restaurants to the county. News 4's Darcy Spencer has the story.
Here in Prince George's County, there are plenty of fast food restaurants. There's sit-down restaurants too, but what about fine dining? Well, many say there just isn't enough. And now the county is trying to do something about it. It's lunchtime and the lines are long at fast food drive-thrus, folks looking for a quick meal. But what if you're looking for something else, like a nice sit-down lunch or dinner? Well, some say they want more options here in the county.
Chick-fil-A and places like Arby's, that's good for the younger people because they want it fast and out. But for the seasoned citizens, we like to sit down, relax, and then be waited on. Let's put it like that.
Some Prince George's County Council members are supporting legislation that would create an incentive for fine dining businesses to locate here or existing businesses to elevate their dining experience. They're looking at setting aside about $1 million in economic development money to offer grants and loans. Council Chair Crystal Oriada wants to give preference to businesses inside the Beltway.
The idea of this fund is allowing small business to expand, also allowing businesses to come into the county. So it's not just about attracting chain type restaurants, but also giving an opportunity for small business owners.
Supporters say the county is losing money to surrounding areas. Where do you go if you want to go to a fine dining restaurant?
Silver Spring or Annapolis, usually. Baltimore.
You'd like to stay closer to home?
Yeah, I would like to stay closer to home.
And some hope it'll create healthier options too.
We do need some fine dining in Prince George's County. When you look at 56% of the businesses in Prince George's County come from fast food establishments, we have to also embrace the fine dining as well.
There's no timetable yet on when this might happen. There has to be a public hearing first, but the council members hoping that money will be available sometime soon. In Largo, Darcy Spencer, News 4.
You may know the name Elazar Sontag. He is the new Washington Post food critic. But this time around, you will also know his face. For the first time, the Post food critic will not be anonymous. When Sontag started reviewing restaurants 3 months ago, he knew he had a big job in front of him. Since then, he's discovered just how vastly diverse, layered and complex and thrilling this region's dining scene really is. And it shows in his work. Elazar Sontag, here you are sitting with me, no disguise.
Here I am.
Not even a hat.
Not even a hat. Me and my bald head.
Tell me about the decision to no longer be anonymous as the Washington Post food critic.
For me personally, I am just not an anonymous figure.
Right.
A lot of the critics of the past generations, they didn't have digital identities. They could come into these roles and do a really thoughtful, excellent job of remaining anonymous because people really didn't know what they looked like. I don't know what kind of internet scraping I would have had to do to sort of become anonymous, but it would have been complicated, I think, at best. And so that's sort of my personal backstory, that anonymity was always going to be very challenging for me. But I think that also the role of a critic has changed, and the feasibility of anonymity for everyone. The few critics in the country who have remained anonymous, most restaurants know what they look like because the digital reservation platforms store so much information about you. Yes. Even if you have fake phone numbers, fake names, things that I do have, it only really gives you probably a few months, maybe, before that information has been disseminated and you have to change it up again. So there's been a cultural change. The last thing I would say is that I want to talk directly to everyone, to readers, to fellow critics, to chefs when I'm interviewing them and I'm trying to understand, the significance of a restaurant. And so I'm still trying to dine, not anonymously, but, sort of under the radar, using these aliases, still using some of those tools. But then I want to be able to share these reviews on social media, if I run into people out in public, to be able to do something like this and give you a sense of what's going on behind the scenes. And so I do think it's not just changing times. I think there's real upside to a role like this being more public facing.
Can you talk about that? You're not just a food critic to give reviews and stars. You're a storyteller.
Yeah, and I think that this has always been the case, and not being anonymous makes it a little easier, right? To be able to say, I'm reviewing restaurants, I'm helping you decide where to eat, but I also want to help you understand how restaurant culture period is changing, right? How the world around us is shifting. And it's not to say that you can't do that anonymously. My predecessor did an excellent job. The anonymous critics over the years have done a beautiful job of this, but it does become easier to connect with people, to access some of that storytelling when, you're a face that people recognize. And that is, to me, the most important part of the job, the storytelling, right? Of course, telling people where to eat, but also giving them a sense of why it matters. I want people to go to a restaurant with a sense of excitement because they know the food is going to be great, but also because there's some there. There's some protein. So that's what I'm hoping to do in this role.
All right, the sun was shining. Yeah. It didn't help that much with temperatures. Pretty cold out there today.
Yeah, considering the fact that our normal high temperature is close to 60 degrees, we got to 52. That was it. And really, that was in the later portion of the afternoon. We saw a very cold start to the day. Highs or low temperatures this morning, 20s and 30s. And look at the highs, only in the low 50s, 49 in Hagerstown, 45. Cold in Annapolis, Patuxent River along the river at 46 and 55 in Warrenton. So yes, well below average, but that sun, March sun, did help at least a little bit. Out there right now, you can see the cherry blossoms very close to peak bloom outside right now. A little bit in the way of a breeze, but temperatures of 49 degrees. So it's a chilly night. Now that the sun is going down, or really sun is down, we're talking about it feeling a lot cooler. 48 right now in Gaithersburg, 51 Manassas, 52 down towards Culpeper too. Now the radar picture is completely dry, and we're going to stay that way tonight, even though we've got a lot of cloud cover working its way our way. Notice the clouds working in across our area. That means we'll stay relatively mild compared to last night because the clouds will act like a blanket to keep us slightly warmer, but still going to be a chilly night. Look at the direction coming out of the northwest. That is a colder direction of the cloud cover, but as I mentioned, we will stay on the dry side for that. Temperatures on the colder side to the north and east. The warmth still back toward the west. We saw Denver at 80 earlier. Look at Albuquerque, New Mexico at 86 degrees. And how about this? Jacksonville at 58. So we got the cool air for this time of year, rather, across the east. But that's going to start to work its way in. The warm air, that is, will start to work its way back across our area. The cool air is here now. We'll start to see the cool air move back up to the north tomorrow. By Thursday, we get into some of that warmer air. I think we get into the 60s and 70s on Thursday, going for a current high of around 74 degrees. But look what happens. The ups and the downs. Yeah, look at the downs coming back in by Friday into the day on Saturday. Cool conditions on Saturday, much like today, sunshine. A little breezy, high temperatures only around 50 degrees, so nearly 10 degrees below average. But tomorrow, we'll get a little bit milder, but we will see a lot of clouds. So it's kind of going to feel similar because of the lack of sunshine. A lot of cloud cover, high temperatures in the upper 50s to around 60 after a chilly start. So the kids will need the jackets again early during the day tomorrow. As we make our way through Thursday, going high of 75. Again, tomorrow's average, but with the cloud cover, it'll feel cooler. 75 on your Thursday, 63 on Friday. Not just showers, but potential for rain. And don't let this 63 fool you. We will see falling temperatures, and by the afternoon, we'll be in the upper 40s on Friday. So not a fantastic Friday. And if you're going out Friday night, it's not looking good at all. Saturday and Sunday on the cool side, but Sunday closer to average. Sunday will be the better of the 2 days if you're thinking about heading out to see the cherry blossoms. And then look at next week. That's some nice spring weather. Temperatures in the upper 60s to around 70 degrees. A nice little extended period of temperatures 10 degrees above average. You got to like that.
We really do. We love that consistent nice weather. Thank you, Doug. Still to come on the News 4 Rundown. It's staff taking on the pros at Thomas G. Pullen Creative and Performing Arts School. Our Dominique Moody is showing off his skills ahead of a big community basketball game tonight. In Prince George's County, a community basketball game is underway featuring the Harlem Wizards and the staff at Thomas G. Pullen Creative and Performing Arts School. The Harlem Wizards are a traveling basketball team which helps raise funds for schools. Our Dominique Moody has more from Wise High School.
A fun-packed night between the Harlem Wizards and the staff at Thomas Pullen. We are talking about some of the teachers and educators who will be going up against some of the professional players. Now let's talk a little bit about tonight's game. So we know that the focus is about community, building bridges and tons of fun, all while raising money for the academy and programs at the school. Now Thomas Pullen is a Prince George's Academy dedicated to preparing students for college through an integrated arts and academic program. The Prince George's County Academy offers a rigorous academic program while exposing students to the beauty of the arts. Leading up to tonight's game, more than 700 students embarked on a 2-week fitness journey called the Whiz Fit Challenge, allowing them to understand the importance of fitness and health. Take a listen to what some of the Harlem Wizards had to say about why tonight's event is so important.
We pride ourselves on helping to raise money for the communities, for the schools. I mean, it ranges. Every time they buy a souvenir, Harlem Wizards on it, it goes back into their school system. So it's really big.
Bring everybody together. You see the nice, a big party. They're not worrying about bills, religion, politics. We're not worried about none of that. We're going to have a ball. We're going to dance. We're going to smile. We're going to yell. We'll see some amazing athletes, some amazing talent. We're going to have a good time and not worry about anything, which we call Happyville.
The Harlem Wizards, they will be traveling to Pennsylvania to continue what their focus is, making sure that students have what they need in order to succeed. In Prince George's County, Dominique Moody, News 4.
All right, baseball fans, rejoice. We are less than 48 hours away from opening day. The Nats opened the season on the road with a 3-game series against the Cubs, then a 3-game series against the Phillies. Washington's first home game will be Friday, April 3rd, when they host the defending World Series champion, the Dodgers. All right, this season, you can catch MLB action right here on NBC4, starting with opening day on Thursday when the Pirates take on the Mets. Then later that night, the Diamondbacks play the Dodgers. You can watch both games on NBC4 and Peacock. And that's going to do it for the News 4 Rundown for this Tuesday night. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to join us tonight for News 4 at 11. For now, I'm Un Yang. Have a great night, everyone.